Hello, 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 hello. We are back. It is Wizard Talk Podcast number 3, and we got some spicy shit for this one. Spicy stuff. As you can see, we're already on Twitter. We got Nate Shot's video pulled up. So, this is what we're going to start with here. So, uh, just to premise this video, so what happened with 100 Thieves Valorant team? This is what this is about. 100 Thieves basically pick up these two players. I was like Baby J and I think it's EC1S. I don't know how to actually say that name. I mean, he'll talk about him in the video, but basically, they were on the team for a very short time. Like they were on the team, they were screaming for like 2 months, and then they competed for like 2 weeks. So, yeah, it was a very, very rushed like venture, and it's very rare for this to happen in tier one orgs. And well, let me just say they got dropped. So they got dropped really early. Like they got dropped after 2 months of scrims and like 2 weeks of matches, which is super rare at a T1 level. Like usually tier one teams, they never want players to be a part of their org for that short amount of time. Like, it's kind of insane for that to happen. So it's like you didn't really give them a chance to prove themselves. So it's like there has to be something else. So let me just play the video with that premise. Let's just say that like everyone was like, "What the hell is going on? Why did these guys just get dropped after like one or two tournaments?" And this is basically what Nate had to say.
What's going on, everybody? I just want to take a second, real quick, to talk about the announcement regarding our Valorant roster. Obviously, I know it probably comes as a surprise that we're moving away from Baby J and Eccles. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to both those
Eccles.
players. There is never, ever, under any circumstance, where I want there to be a situation where their involvement with our organization is as short lived as this one. And I think they're both incredibly talented players and clearly have a future in professional Valorant. And I think they'll land on their feet, or at least that's my hope, not only professionally, but personally. I think their contribution should not go overlooked. And I really just want to say thank you for them and the time that they invested into our organization. I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding why we made this decision. It's tough to say that this wasn't a results based decision, but it really wasn't. Obviously a disappointing loss yesterday to the Guard. Cloud9 got the better of us, beating us 2-0 last week. And I think a lot of people just don't have the ability to look deeper into what causes issues with teams and rosters. In a lot of cases, in my experience of competing, sometimes it really doesn't come down to the talent and it doesn't come down to the results. It comes down to the culture, the mindset, and the philosophy and how the game should be approached. And Call of Duty was one thing. It's a little bit more singular in how the way the game is played. There's really only a couple right ways and a lot of wrong ways to play the game. But with Valorant, with all of the utility and the composition of agents, I feel like you can really get lost in the weeds and how the game should be played and how you should approach each match and each map that you end up competing on. So I would say this was a decision that we felt was necessary for the success or the potential opportunity for us to qualify in the future of 2022 in all the tournaments that are to come. And the format is just grueling, to be honest with you. Only two teams go to Iceland. And basically, if you don't qualify, your year is done, besides some of the, tier two or tier three tournaments that you can play in across different tournament platforms and websites and organizations. So it's really make or break. And we just felt like we didn't want to wait out the inevitable. We just felt like the roster and the players and the way that they meshed just didn't fit well together. And so, you got to take a big swing. And so we're excited to welcome Bang and JC Stanny to the roster, and we hope that we can find success. I'm really sorry to the community that's looking for a better long-term solution. I know that it's never fun dealing with turbulence and the rosters, and it's never fun to not have confidence in the organization that is fielding these players. But we're trying to win, and we never want that to come at the cost of recycling players and really not giving people the opportunity to perform and prove themselves. But It's a cutthroat circuit, and I think these are changes for the best. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that can give you a little bit of insight as to how we were thinking through this. And we now are looking forward to our match next week and hoping we can find some success. So thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding. And hopefully that made sense. Y'all take it easy.
Okay, so pretty much, let's just get to this real quick. So pretty much what happened there. So basically, what he was saying, I'm sure most of you can understand it. Most basically, what he was saying is just like, yo, um, Valorant's super cutthroat circuit. We don't have time. Like he does not want to have players like Baby J and Eccles. I heard him say it was Eccles, because I didn't know how to say EC1S, but it's Eccles. He said basically he's like, yeah, we don't want to have players ever have like they're the first two dead in this fight too. But yeah, he's like, we don't want to have we don't want to have players spend this little time in our org ever. But the way Valorant works, it's so cutthroat. Only two players from each region, or not two players, two teams from each region even make it to the Iceland major, the international, which is basically like it's like League of Legends, MSI, and Worlds. Like that's like the big tournament. That's what you fight for. That's what you want to get to. And we're actually going to talk about a very similar situation with LS and Cloud9 a little bit later in this podcast. But I want to talk about this first. So yeah, basically it's just like he was like, we can't. These players weren't putting up the results. The scrims weren't working out. Something was going on with the team coordination. They obviously lost a really bad loss to the guard here. I think one of these games they lost 13-0. Like it was just bad. And they said they lost O2 to Cloud9 as well. And it's like we need to have a good enough team to be a top 2 team in North America. And losing like Cloud9's an amazing team, but like the guard's good, but they are not. I do not consider them a top 2 team in the region. Like they're just not. And so it's just really bad to be losing to these teams this badly, especially with a new roster. It doesn't really give you confidence when there's not a lot of time to make up for it because you want to make it to this Iceland major, or you're just going to be playing, like you said, you're just going to be playing in these tier 2, tier 3 tournaments, which aren't that bad. I mean, we've literally played, like us as Illusion, we've played against 100 Thieves in tier 2 tournament before. It was funny. We played against a lot of top teams in the tier 2, tier 3 tournaments, so I know exactly what tournaments he's talking about. And yeah, they're nowhere near the prize pool or the viewership of these major events like Iceland and like VCT challengers. So yeah, I mean, I think the decision makes sense. Personally, I think the way he described it was really good. I think I'm gonna say reference Cloud9 again. I'm gonna reference Nate Shot's video here when we talk about Cloud9 of what to do and what not to do. They're pretty much polar opposites. So Nate Shot handled it pretty much perfectly. I think he described anything you could really ask for without getting too much into detail, which is like completely unnecessary. He basically just said, yeah, the team wasn't playing that well. It was just like not working out, and they needed to make a change quick because there's not much time to make up for it, and they need to make it to Iceland. And he said they're still amazing players. They're still going to be competing in the professional league or at the professional level. And I still think they're probably tier 1 players. I mean, I've seen Baby J around a lot. I've seen EC1S or Eccles before. I don't know how to say his name. I forget which team he was on before, but I know they're insane players. Like they're gonna be a tier 1 still for sure. But yeah, it just wasn't right for 100 Thieves, I guess. And I think Nate Shot described it as well as he possibly could have. And yeah, it's pretty much just what happened here. I mean, it's like you said, Valorant's cutthroat. You can't just, especially esports in general, it's cutthroat. Your career is always on edge. That's why a lot of players go to streaming because streaming is a much more consistent based money flow. But I'm sure they had some sort of buyout of their contract. So I'm sure Baby J and Eccles aren't that upset. Like they're upset with it. They're probably pissed because they were like, we just grinded. We were super hyped to play on this big org. But they probably got their money. They probably did. Like your contract was definitely more than how long they were there, and I think you have to pay out your contract when you're at this level of play. So they probably got their money. So I mean, there's that at least. But yeah, I just got an ad. Amazing. The tracker network. But yeah, I mean, it's fair. It's a fair decision. I'm kind of interested to see where Baby J and Eccles go again because that'd actually be an exciting rivalry. I mean, I don't know if they'll be on the same team. They probably won't. I mean, maybe. But like anywhere those two players go, it will be so fun to watch their team play against 100 Thieves. Because if they beat them, it will be hilarious. Especially if one of them top frag. Like, come on, that's like the perfect opportunity. But yeah, no, 100 Thieves just trying to figure stuff out. Not often you see players dropped this early at this high of a level, so it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I want to move on to something else here. Let's actually move on to the LS stuff that I was just talking about. It's pretty similar to what's going on with this, but instead of it being two players dropped, they actually dropped their coach. And it wasn't with it wasn't with bad results, because like this one, yeah, like 100 Thieves, they had terrible results. They lost. They got completely rolled by the guard. I mean, the guard are not a joke of a team. They're a ridiculous team. They're like low tier one for sure. And then you got Cloud9, who are one of the best teams in A. They're probably trying to go to Iceland for sure. But yeah, this is the opposite. This whole situation is the opposite. Before I switch to the video, actually, I'll pull it up here real quick. So it is this video. All right. So pretty much, let me describe the situation. So LS, there's this guy LS. He was the coach of Cloud9's. He was the coach of Cloud9's League of Legends team for like he pretty much built the entire team. Pretty much the backstory of this, LS was this guy in Korea. He used to coach and do streaming a lot. He used to do a lot of like LCK, um, like broadcasts where he would just cast along with it and talk about what was going on in the game. He's super knowledgeable in the game. Pretty much he dedicates his whole life to this game for the most part. I mean, that's most professional league players. That's really just how it goes. But yeah, LS is just this big name streamer coach in the community. He got picked up by Cloud9, where they were like, "Hey, come help build our roster." So LS pretty much went into Cloud9, built this entire roster with some of the Korean players that joined the roster, the staff that joined the roster, and the way they played, and just the whole team was formed around LS's mythology. Like, not mythology. What's the word? You know what I mean. Basically, his philosophy around the game. And basically what happened, Cloud9 had like they were doing wild stuff. Like Cloud9 were like drafting crazy stuff. If you don't know League, they were picking like Soraka and Ivern mid, and that is a support and jungler character, both like respectively. And that's not a normal thing to see at a top level. And for LS to be doing that and it working, it was just bringing a lot of excitement to the league, and people were super hype, and like Cloud9 was getting all these fans, and it was like, let's go. And then out of nowhere, they even had a good start. They started 3-1, super good start. Like you can't even complain about that. Like they lost once. Like what do you want from them? They lost once. It's not even that big of a deal. But then out of nowhere, like literally during, I think it was during the broadcast or slightly before the broadcast of LCS, Cloud9 released this tweet where they were literally just like, "Hey, we are dropping LS for blah 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 reasons," and well, they didn't even say the reason. Let me actually try to pull up the tweet. Let me see if I can find it. Kayla resigns from Cloud. Whoa, I didn't even see this. Whoa, okay. I'll talk about that in a second, actually. Michaela just left Cloud9. Okay. That's wild. That's really wild. Okay. What was the actual tweet that Cloud9 said? Cloud9 right here. This is the tweet they put right now. They literally said, LS has been released from Cloud9 and Max Waddle has been promoted to the LCS head coach position. We'd like to thank LS for his contributions to the team and wish him the best. Out of absolutely nowhere. Out of nowhere. They were doing good. They had exciting drafts. Everyone was liking the team. And out of nowhere, for pretty much no reason, they dropped him. And then everyone was freaking out like, what the fuck's going on? And they just released this video. So I'll show you guys the video before I say anything else. And just to premise it, Nate Shot is what to do when you drop a player for an unknown circumstance, and this video is what not to do. Let's just get into it.
Hey guys, this is Jack Etienne with Cloud9. I brought some of the team members with me to discuss the recent LS situation, why he was released, and where we're going in the future. Obviously, you guys showed a lot of concern about it, and we are also very disappointed with the decision that we had to make. Unfortunately, the reason why we got to the point we were with LS was that Cloud9 for years has developed systems on how we like to coach and operate our team. And despite our best efforts working with LS to try to come to terms and see eye to eye on how that should work, we're unable to make that actually happen. I think it's important to note that all players, coaches, and management were aware of these issues and frustrations and our mutual efforts to try to resolve them over the last several weeks. Unfortunately, as time went on, it was really clear that we're unable to find a resolution and come together on figuring out this problem. And we decided that it was important that we make a change and release LS at that point so we could move forward and focus on the future. We know that the timing of the decision wasn't ideal. We would have loved to have had more time to create a larger PR statement before the game on Saturday. Unfortunately, we just did not have that time available to us. And we saw that it was best for our team and for our players to make that decision now versus let the frustration increase. We want to recognize and thank LS for helping us create the roster and the staff that we have today. And we also want to recognize the incredible intelligence and strategic mind that he brought to Cloud9. Now, speaking on the future, I would like to let everybody know that we're absolutely confident in Max Waldo. He's been with Cloud9 for over a year now. He has flourished in the Cloud9 coaching system and understands the needs of our players and our coaching staff. Max Waldo has the 100% confidence of our players and our coaching staff and me personally.
So moving forward, our goals and directions with the team haven't changed. Our intention is still to improve at a rate where we're good enough come Worlds to be an international threat. Our players are still confident, motivated, and optimistic to keep playing and improving to get to that goal.
저희가 이 변화에 대해서 두렵지 않고 되게 잘할 수 있으니까 많은 기대해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 선수들도 되게 자신 있어 하는 것 같아요.
Yeah, so I've been with C9 for over 4 years now, and I've gone through a lot of change with the team, and I've always trusted myself, Jack, and my teammates to make the right decision moving forward. And I really appreciated my time with LS, and I'm sorry to see him go. But I really believe in Max to move forward as the new head coach, and I think he's going to do a really great job. I believe in my teammates, myself, and I know we're going to do great going into the future, regardless of what happens. We're happy.
Thanks for listening and continue to support our players in the future.
So yeah, okay, I mean, okay. So first off, the number one complaint, pretty much with that most people had when they saw this video on Twitter, most replies were like, "Hey, this explains absolutely nothing." They were just like, "Yo, this explains nothing. You literally just said words like." And kind of, I agree. Like honestly, they were just there. They're just like, "Hey, we have coaching methods in place, and LS didn't match the way we like to coach and the way we like to run our team." And I'm just sitting here like, what do you mean? LS's entire identity has always been this wacky, we're drafting crazy stuff. Let's change the meta, do stuff daring, make stuff exciting. And he was doing that pretty much for Cloud9, drafting a lot of wild picks that people wouldn't expect. And then was successful with it, 3-1. That's not a bad start to a season by any sorts of the imagination. But for some reason, the CEO didn't like it. I knew the only problem that I really actually know of that LS has actually talked about is with one of their academy players in Malice. Him and Malice despise each other because they have a big past, and there's a lot of problems with that. If you want to know more about their problems, there's a whole video of like LS talks about Malice situation, and they hate each other. There's a lot of backstory for those two guys, but it's like that wouldn't really make sense for a reason because he's not even a main roster player. That guy is an academy player, so I don't know. I mean, Malice is a big streamer too, so I don't know. But yeah, so this whole decision kind of made no sense to me. It was just like we don't like, and then this is like the backfire of this decision is insane. There's so many people not supporting Cloud9 anymore. Like there's so many people not supporting Cloud9 anymore. They're people like boycotting it, saying like, "Hey, we hate Cloud." Like this, it literally flipped the switch. Like Cloud9 was the most supported team. Everyone was super hype about it because of LS making this exciting like team, drafting crazy stuff, and they just got rid of that and they completely like there's LS right there and they completely flipped the switch. And now everyone is against C9 and everyone's trying to like boycott them. Everyone's clowning them. This decision makes no sense on the surface level. Even like LS posted a video where he's just like, I'm just posting like he was just talking about like he had like a little notepad thing up. He's like, lawyers are dealing with it. I can't actually talk about anything because I'm sure Cloud9 paid out his contract, and one of the things was like, hey, we'll pay out your contract and we'll pay you this for you not to say anything. And they probably agreed to it. And like if he says stuff about the situation because it's a brand damaging issue. So they most likely paid him out so that he couldn't actually say stuff about it, but his lawyers can still deal with it and they can still solve it legally. Well, I would not expect LS to ever actually open up about what truly happens, or anyone to really open up what truly happened, because that's just more damaging to Cloud9 than they already caused just by this one decision. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, even my opinion about Cloud9 changed. Cloud9 was like one of my first favorite orgs, the old OG 2014 Cloud9 roster. I remember everyone on that roster. It was Sneaky, High, Balls, Lemonation, and Meteos. Those were the goats, man. That was the prime of Cloud9 for me. And ever since then, like they've been like whatever. I mean, they were the best team in a at Worlds last year. But I don't know. I mean, making a decision like that is just so crazy because it's like whether they're gonna draft like LCK and LPL drafts, and they're just gonna lose because LCK and LPL teams are just better. When you could have had this LS guy who was drafting crazy picks that no one's used to, and really throw the LCK and LPL teams for a loop, and they don't know how to really respond to it, and that gives you a much better chance of actually winning on a global stage. And they just I don't know. And even the T1, so T1 right now, most people saying is the best team in the world. They're like I don't know what their actual record is right now. I know they're undefeated. They're like 11 or 12-0 right now in the LCK. And the T1 CEO on LS's stream was like, I would love to know about the systems in place that get you 0 world championships. And that shit was so funny. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a whole disaster. I don't know what Cloud9 is doing. And what I literally just read, like I didn't even realize, I just read it. Michaela, who's like Tyler One's girlfriend, if you guys follow anything about League, you know who Tyler One is. He's a big streamer. Or even if you just watch Twitch, you probably know who Tyler One is. So Michaela is Tyler One's girlfriend. She was sponsored by Cloud9 as a content creator, and I just read that she left Cloud9. She literally made a Twitter poll saying, "Should I leave? Yes or no?" And most people said yes, and so she just left the org. I just read that. It's so funny. She left the org because of LS. Like people are literally boycotting Cloud9's League team now. Like it's a whole disaster. So it was probably the worst decision, one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in esports. And you could see the difference between Nadeshot and Cloud9's announcement. Nadeshot made perfect sense. You're like, okay, you guys are trying to grind for a shot at Iceland. You guys don't really have like a super like proven results to back up like what's going on, your actual chance of making it to Iceland. They just like got rolled by the guard, rolled by Cloud9, and they need a change. And obviously some internal stuff are going on. He was talking about how there's different ways to win the game, and the players weren't agreeing on the ways to win the game. So it makes sense. It made perfect sense. Nation made perfect sense. And then Cloud9's was basically like, he doesn't match our coaching philosophies and the way we run our team. Like, what are you talking about? Your coaching philosophies and way you run the team? What was your purpose of picking up LSN? The entire reason why they picked him up was to change the coaching philosophy and build this team and way to play. So now there's this entire team that basically was formed by LS. LS pretty much built this team, built the staff, that were all like recommended by him. Even Max Waldo, the new coach, was recommended by LS. He built this whole team, and then he got dropped because they didn't like the way he was building the team and coaching the team. Like, what do you guys like? What did you expect? He's a coach that does wild stuff. His team is what he built. He wants a different way to play, and then Jack, the CEO of Cloud9, is just like, oh no, he's not playing the way we want him to play. AKA, I want him to play, and probably maybe some other guys on the staff that don't even know shit about League compared to LS, and just made this dumb decision that's a humongously bad, brand damaging decision. It's going to last for a while, at least this whole season. Like Cloud9 just turned, like, they literally flipped it on their head. They turned themselves from a fan favorite team to the most hated team in the LCS now. Like, that's what they are now. Like, everyone is going to hate Cloud9 now. Like, that's just how it's going to be. They literally were the fan favorites like 2 weeks ago, and now they're going to be the most hated team because of this decision. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. It's whatever, man. I mean, some people make good decisions, some people make bad decisions. That's how esports goes. That's how sports goes. It's just how it goes, you know? It's the way she goes. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't really think there's any chance or any planet where LS actually gets back on Cloud9, especially after all this. I think it's just over. I mean, LS even said he doesn't plan on coaching anywhere after all this because, I mean, I don't blame him. Like, he basically was like, yeah, there's no way after this I'm going to want to coach anywhere else. Because, like, he built this whole team. He put so much effort into building this team, building the staff, getting in a relationship with the players, learning about the LCS ways, learning about what to coach, planning out things against the other teams, just to get dropped in 2 weeks after being successful for pretty much no reason. Like, what? Yeah, I know fucking shit, don't coach again. That's not like, after all that, I wouldn't want to coach again. That's just like wasting my damn time. I'm just gonna go stream because he's a successful streamer. He just does that. Like I said, it's a more consistent way to get money. Yeah, it's just crazy. And actually, speaking of LS, this is gonna completely switch topics though. But this was on the stream. He was talking to the T1 CEO. So the T1 CEO actually owns the Overwatch League team, the Philadelphia Fusion, and in their stream, he kind of had a little leak. He kind of made a little leak. Let me show you guys the clip real quick. Let me just show you guys the clip before I say anything else. Right here. It is right here. Where is it? Here it is. Just listen to this. Listen to this.
I'll actually see Jack in a 29 days at the Overwatch owners meetings. So that'd be great.
Yeah, Overwatch. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's still a thing?
Overwatch. Yeah. What do you mean? The Fusion play out of T1's building. They have the whole second floor now.
Oh. Okay.
That's a big deal. It means they're launching Overwatch 2 this year.
Why would
Actually,
they
they revive
So
it's gonna
I was
revive the whole game.
I was talking to our very special guest next
Okay,
week.
I could just stop it there because
And
he doesn't talk about. He's talking about like right after this, but like literally looking like the chat. This is like this people playing League.
He actually just enlightened. Well, he didn't enlighten me. He
Overwatch
just made me
2
realize
leaks,
something.
leaks.
Do you realize that
leaks.
all that Riot does?
It's so funny. But yeah, like he pretty much just leaked information that we have not known and we've been wondering for quite a while now. Which is, when the hell is Overwatch 2 coming out? This is something, me personally as an Overwatch fan, this is something I've been wondering for a very long time. And who would have thought that in a stream with a League of Legends coach, with people that have no information about, like, and don't really care about Overwatch, like literally MOBA players, we would get news about Overwatch release. Obviously, I could be looking too much into this. He could have just been talking out of his ass. Like, there's like a perfectly fair chance that he was literally just saying what he thought was gonna happen. Because I think he was assuming, he's like, yeah, we're not gonna play Overwatch, in Overwatch League without the game coming out this year. So maybe he was just saying that. But the fact that he was talking about, oh, we're going to the Overwatch owners meeting, and when he said Jack, he's talking about Cloud9, because Cloud9 also owns, I think, the London Spitfire. But and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to the Overwatch owners meeting, and we're talking about the Overwatch League that's coming up, and Overwatch 2 is coming out this year. And Blizzard has not said when Overwatch 2 is coming out. They haven't said anything. And so that just tells me, okay, Overwatch 2 is coming out this year. And that's huge news if this is true. I'm just going to say I assume this is true because he's literally an owner of the OWL team and he's going to the owners meeting, and I'm assuming this is what they're going to be talking about, and he seems like he already knows that Overwatch 2 is coming out this year. He was confident in that statement. So that's insane news for Overwatch fans and Overwatch League fans. I cannot wait for this game. I can't wait for it. Obviously, I still am not a fan of 5v5. I think 5v5 is a really weird decision, and I'm not gonna just give up on it until I try it, because I'm just gonna assume it's good until I'm shown it's bad. That's what I'm gonna say. A lot of people are gonna go into it assuming it's bad, and that's just not the right mindset. You gotta go into the game assuming it's gonna be fine, assuming it's gonna be a fun game, and if it's bad, then it's bad, and then you just be like, oh, that game sucks, and we don't play Overwatch anymore until they change it to like 6v6 or something. I don't know. I just don't really see how they're gonna make the game balanced in 5v5, where it's not just like, hey, we gotta kill their tank and then we win the game, because that's pretty much how it works. Once you kill, like in Goats, it was basically like Ryan was your team, and in this game, it's gonna be like your team is whoever your tank is, and the way you played that was you kill the other team's Ryan, and you just win the game every time you win the fight. So this is just looking a lot to me like, oh, whoever's tank dies first just wins the fight, and I'm just like that's really, really not a good look. I bet they're changing every single character to make them way more wild. They're changing the roles and how they work. Like DPS get a speed boost. All supports have their health like regenning slowly. The tanks give less ultimate cooldown. They have more health. Their abilities are cracked. Tanks basically seem like a boss battle, but it's like they're changing all the characters, so I don't really know if it's going to be an actual boss battle. Here's the the new Bastion ult. It's literally just mortars. That shit's wild. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect from Overwatch 2. We don't really have any news whatsoever. I'm assuming they're going to use Overwatch League as the #1 way to advertise it, because they're going to be playing. They've already told us that they are going to be playing this game. They're going to be playing this season of Overwatch 2. So the players are going to have it way before the fan base, like the general public. And I can't wait to watch this game in Overwatch League, and I can't wait to play it. I'm going to probably try to compete as much as I can. I'm going to try to compete at a GM level, at least for a little bit, for fun. Like, obviously, I'm not trying to make contenders or everything. It would just be for fun, just because that's what I used to do. And I definitely want to do it with the new game, just to see how it really is at a competitive level. And, yeah, I'll have a much better opinion on it then, but right now I have no idea. I mean, no one really has any idea except the players that played it in the Hawaii World Championship in this video. And there's Push. Push is so much better than 2CP. Like, Push could be scuffed, and it could be some weird, annoying, but I gotta add, Push could be scuffed, there could be some really annoying things about it, but there's no way it's gonna be worse than 2CP. I'm so glad they're moving 2CP. That is the best decision in the entire thing that we've gotten so far. So, I'm also excited about PvE. Like, I'm not a big PvE person in games, usually. Like, one of my favorite games of all time is Guild Wars 2, and I don't even have maxed out stuff in that game, and I haven't even done the majority of the content. I don't even have map completion on anything. Like, the only legendary I have, I literally just bought it. I didn't even make it, because I don't like PvE content usually. Even though I'm playing games right now, like Lost Ark, where it's literally just PvE, and like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is just PvE. Like, but it's whatever, man. I mean, I'm just having, I just, I don't even know what I was talking about. Once I talk about Overwatch 2 PvE, I was losing my mind for a second. But yeah, no, Overwatch 2 PvE looks really good, actually. I'm definitely gonna try, because it's just playing with Overwatch characters, just mindlessly shooting things, is one of my favorite things to do. When like, sometimes if I'm not out with people having a good time, I'll just be home drinking, talking to some friends, and like a voice call, and playing PvE is just like the perfect like thing to keep me stimulated, you know? Just to be doing something. So, I don't know. I think it'll be fun. I mean, some people will literally just play the game just for PvE. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, no, I'm super hyped for this game, and the fact that we basically just got it confirmed that it's coming out this year is insane. So, I can't wait. I'm just, hopefully we're getting a lot of news once the OWL season starts about the actual future of the game. or not the future of the game, the future updates and what's actually happening with the game and when we're actually getting it, especially with the beta, because this is super old at this point. This is like a year old gameplay. I'm sure the game has changed a lot since this video, so I'm super hyped to see it. But yeah. So I got one last thing I do want to talk about here. It is going to be what's going on in the LCS, just an LCS update, because that's something I want to keep consistent, because I think LCS is probably the biggest esports in North America right now, and I just want to keep consistent with my updates for that. So we're going to move on to some LCS news here. Hold up.
Ready? Picking.
It's not muted, but it's all right. All right. All right, LCS news. Last time we talked, we basically talked about it's the end of lock-in, which was a lot different than where we are now. So first thing I will say is I remember in my video or in my last podcast, I was like, popular page. I'm looking at the popular pages on Wikipedia, and the number one popular page is LS right now. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, we already talked about LS. It's fine. Okay, so let me just talk about this. So FlyQuest, in my last podcast, I was clowning them. I was like, this is a bad team. Anyone that's losing to this team, they're losing to a bad team. They are currently 5-1. So amazing start for FlyQuest. I'll talk about what happened to them. They're number one in the league right now. FlyQuest week 1 took down CLG. Week 2 took down TSM. Week 3 took down Dignitas. And obviously CLG, TSM, and Dignitas, not the best of teams. They're all in the lower end of the standings. Then we go into week 4. FlyQuest doesn't play week 4. Oh, I'm not even looking. I was looking at just one match. Okay, so week 1 they took down CLG Golden Guardians. Not the biggest wins. Then week 2 they took down TSM, lost to Team Liquid. Team Liquid's very strong team. Then week 3 they took down Dignitas and 100 Thieves. That's their biggest win so far. 100 Thieves, a team that's 5-2, right behind them in the standings. In week 4 so far, they have not played. They're going to be playing Evil Geniuses today, I believe. Yeah, today. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, 5-1, amazing start for FlyQuest. And this is a team I really was surprised to see this, but I'm not. I mean, Aphromu, you've got one of the most goated supports in NA of all time. You've got Kumo, who's a really strong top laner, who's like I've been watching with Champions Queue. He does really well. Jose Diodo, obviously fan favorite. Johnson looks decent in Champions Queue and in his game so far. So I mean, and then Tukulil, I don't know how to say that name. He actually looked really bad when I was watching him, but I mean, apparently they're doing good. If it works, it works. And then there's 3 teams timed for second. It's 100 Thieves, the Disaster of Cloud9, and Team Liquid. So they've all been doing pretty good. And yeah, so those are really our competitive teams. Those top 4 right now. FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Team Liquid are your main competitors in the LCS right now. Cloud9 obviously just lost a lot of fans. Because of the yellow situation, if you guys want to become fans of a better team, looks like FlyQuest is doing pretty good. They definitely need some fans. 100 Thieves and Team Liquid definitely have enough fans. So if you guys need a new team, go check out FlyQuest. I mean, fuck it. Jose Diodo, let's go. Right now in the middle grounds, you got Golden Guardians and Dignitas. I don't think this surprises anyone. I kind of just predicted them to be these middle of the road teams, and so far they're kind of living up to that. Immortals are 3-4. I thought Immortals are going to be dead last. I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams, and they're not doing terrible. It's not terrible. I mean, they've got wins on who? They got wins on 100 Thieves. Huge win there. Wins on EG. Huge win there. It looks like they're literally just... Okay, they beat CLG, but they lost to 2 bad teams, and they beat 2 really good teams. So I don't... Well, Evil Geniuses doesn't really make sense. So Evil Geniuses below them in the standings, 2-4. And I thought that team was going to be ridiculous. I thought this team was going to be top 3 team. I thought they were going to be like where FlyQuest is. And FlyQuest is going to be where they are. But I don't know. I mean, I'm also looking into it super early. This is the beginning of the season, so you can't really get a true gauge on where teams are until you're much later into the season. Even like after MSI, like you don't really know where these teams stand. But yeah, and then below them, you have the two disaster teams, CLG and TSM. CLG, everyone expected this. CLG's never been good for the past like 3 years. I mean, their management changed, and they're still trying to fix stuff and become back the way they were. But right now, like, they've literally just been a budget team. They've just been holding on. They've just been holding on to their LCS spot for pretty much no reason, and pretty much all of their like actual funding goes into just paying for the LCS spot. And their team is just not good. Like, Jenkins is not looking good. Palafox is not looking good. Then their bot lane isn't even bad. Luger's pretty good. I think Pume's okay. Contracts is looking kind of washed. Not gonna lie, he's sometimes there, but he just kind of seems washed. But yeah, that team just looks weak, and I don't think anyone's surprised by CLG being bad. But I mean, maybe one day that team will fix themselves. Maybe one day they'll sell their league spot to a different team that could actually do something with it. But right now, they are still the same old disaster CLG. The big story right now, though, one of the most legendary teams in League of Legends history, TSM. TSM is 1-6. And that is really, really bad for a team that has high hopes. Like, this team has high hopes. They're not like CLG, a team that's just like, yeah, we just tank every year. Like, we just are here to exist, pretty much. TSM wants championships. And 1-6 is a disaster. They've lost to everyone except who's their one team they beat? They've beaten Immortals. That's it. A team that just doesn't seem very impressive. Like, this team needs to figure something out quick, or they're just going to be a disaster for the rest of the season. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they are just a disaster. I think they'll probably just finish somewhere in the middle. I think them and like Immortals will probably flip flop a little bit. I think Evil Geniuses will go up higher, but right now, TSM's just bad. They're just bad. Right now, the main teams, like I said, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Team Liquid, those are the teams in NA that you have to really look for. And big question is always, though, can this region do anything on a global stage, like MSI? Right now, I'm going to say probably not. I think LCK is still ridiculous. I think LPL is still better. I do, however, think that LEC is starting to fall off a little bit. I think the LEC is starting to kind of lose their strength from what they've had. I think we're starting to catch up to the LEC a little bit. So the European NA rivalry should be a little more interesting, I think, now. But I still think like LCK is just way, way, way ahead of NA. So I don't really think we can do anything about that. But I mean, we'll see at the MSI if anything actually happens. But yeah, some exciting stuff going on. Well, some of it sucks, some of it's cool. I don't know. Feel bad for LS, who pretty much got screwed over. Feel bad for the two 100 Thieves guys, Baby J and Eccles, for them basically getting screwed over. But I mean, it just happens. You know, it's a dog eat dog's business in esports. That's why people usually become streamers, because it's consistent. Because most of people's career does not last more than like 2 years. It's usually how it goes. It lasts 2 years, and then they go work at a department store the rest of their life, or they stream, or they become a manager in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, all right, and that is all I've got for this episode. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter at Wizard Talk, I think it's at Wizard Talk PC. I think that's what it is. Let me just double check. Yeah, Wizard Talk PC is our Twitter. Follow us on YouTube at Wizard Talk on YouTube. This will be posted on there, and as well as our other old episodes and all of our new episodes after this one. Follow me on my personal Twitter. It's at IlluzeDave, ILUZ Dave. And follow the organization. This is brought to you by, what is going on here? Let's just get whatever the fuck that is off the screen. It's brought to you by Illusion Gaming. Follow Illusion Gaming on Twitter at Gaming Illusion, and follow us to keep updated on our next episodes. And if you guys made it this far, as always, I greatly appreciate you actually listening and watching. I know this is a very new thing. I know I'm not getting that many views on it. It's more just a work in progress right now. Something that I want to build on for the future. We can get maybe an actual podcast set up if we get like an Illusion house and stuff. But this is pretty much just something I'm practicing just to get better at, to try to build this podcast for the future. So if you guys are actually listening right now, I greatly appreciate it. And there will be more of these, and these will get better over time. So thank you. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace, peace, peace.